How could a state as daring and mighty as Texas, birthplace of energy tycoons, innovation leaders, and several of the nation's quickest expanding urban centers, abandon countless folks without a roof overhead? It's a query that ignites arguments in legislative chambers and on sidewalks everywhere. Beyond the skyscrapers of Houston and the melody-packed avenues of Austin exists a different Texas, a Texas of makeshift camps, strained refuges, and individuals fighting hourly merely to endure. Former service members, emerging youths, leaving group homes, moms and dads with kids, they all belong to a narrative frequently ignored. Today we'll dive into that narrative, uncovering the depths of one of the country's gravest emergencies. Texas, the land of plenty but not for everyone. Per the latest state and federal data, Texas confronts a homelessness emergency that demands attention. In the opening months of 2025, almost 28,000 Texans endure homelessness each typical evening, and across the full year, over 60,000 people will go without reliable shelter sometime. These stats signify far more than mere digits in a document. They embody households with kids compelled to rest in vehicles, ex-service members grappling with ongoing agony, and red tape newcomers seeking improved prospects and folks fleeing abusive relationships. Among the gravest patterns stands the steep climb in family homelessness. Data shows a 40% jump with over 6,500 family units, with youngsters presently included in Texas's unhoused community. Certain regions suffer more intensely than the rest. Austin, famed for its tunes and creativity, witnessed its unhoused tally leap by 36% within a single year. Fort Worth noted an 11% uptick, whereas Dallas, following prolonged focused funding, succeeded in cutting its figures by roughly 5%. Such differences underscore a key fact: community strategies, funding, and guidance play huge roles in determining results.
That's true. Today's economy and the way the government is set up, I can't believe it. The reason I'm on the street right now is because of Social Security made a blooper and cut out my Social Security check, so I haven't drawn a penny in the last 2 months.
Beneath these figures dwell institutional strains that transcend personal decisions. Shelter prices throughout Texas have skyrocketed, particularly in its booming metros. Low-cost dwellings have lagged behind needs, and numerous COVID-related aid initiatives have lapsed. Paychecks for numerous underpaid laborers stay flat, compelling even working folks to reside in hostels or vehicles. Such circumstances question enduring views of Texas as a realm of boundless chances. It implies that wealth distribution is uneven, and that institutional voids, scarcity of cheap shelters, inadequate behavioral health aid, restricted welfare systems are stranding multitudes. The issue then arises: is homelessness in Texas a personal shortcoming or an indicator of wider fiscal and governance flaws? To a large extent, this regional plight echoes a countrywide issue, an echo of the larger tale of homeless in America.
Homeless, let's see, it's depressing, it's a mental breakdown. You know, if you don't find any kind of sort of way to find food, shelter, it can get real critical. You know, sometimes it can get to a point where people die.
Portraits from the streets, the faces behind the numbers. As you stroll via central Austin or Houston, you notice differences that prove tough to overlook. A high-end apartment building could loom opposite the road from a grouping of shelters. A bustling coffee shop pours tunes and talks onto the pavement, as a guy rests close by, gripping a shopping sack that contains all his possessions. Who might these folks be and what led them to this spot? Think of Laura, a fresh parent of twins just dismissed following a clinic shutdown. She presently passes evenings shifting among pals' sofas and the rear seat of a worn-out coupe. Or James, a 62-year-old ex-soldier from Decatur who defended his nation just to come back to persistent ache in a slow-moving military aid network. His funds vanished amid healthcare costs, and currently his residence is a garden seat. There's also Evan, a youth exiting group care in Houston, unsure of ways to cover housing fees and combat isolation simultaneously. These aren't standalone incidents. They're glimpses of bigger influences. The pavement shares tales that stats fail to convey. The swelter of a Texas summer pounding upon pavement turns each stride into a trial. The infrequent chill waves deliver icy downpours that prove fatal for folks lacking cover. In certain spots, individuals divide meals, keep an eye on each other, and sometimes discover pride in minor habits. In different places, dread dominates dread of assaults, robberies, and the upcoming cop clearance of a campsite. For plenty, drugs turn into a haven. It's not regarding excitement. It's regarding dulling appetite and distress. This marks the spot where compassion encounters truth. Each individual on the pavement formerly possessed a start, and plenty hold prospects, if the proper pathways unlocked. While you listen to these accounts, question yourself. What might you attempt if a single doctor's fee or an abrupt employment end removed your residence? Might it occur to you or a relative you cherish? The greater our grasp of these existences, the more the expression homeless in America quits acting as a vague notion and turns into something personal and pressing. The fentanyl shadow, when streets turn into battlefields. Among the various factors fueling homelessness, one has grown particularly fatal: the surge of fentanyl and artificial narcotics. Texas, similar to vast portions of the country, confronts a painkiller and upper epidemic that has transformed walkways into emergency stations. Fentanyl, an artificial painkiller vastly more powerful than heroin, proves inexpensive, forceful, and fatal. For folks already battling those bearing scars, psychological disorders, or the overwhelming burden of indigence, it provides a hazardous form of relief. Regrettably, that relief frequently turns into a snare. Data from Houston and Austin reveal a sharp increase in overdoses, numerous happening in unhoused campsites or havens. Rescue teams handle increased alerts concerning fentanyl-tainted tablets, speed, and even fake medications. Street outreach staff recount witnessing addicts scarcely holding onto existence with reversal sprays, turning as routine as beacons. This narcotics surge impacts more than just persons. It overloads clinics, weighs down police forces, and alarms relatives. Certain municipalities discuss if to address dependency, chiefly as a legal matter or community wellness emergency. Why does dependency strike the unhoused with such force? A portion of it stems from the surroundings. Residing exposed to the elements proves taxing, hazardous, and frequently isolated. Narcotics can dull suffering and dread, though just for a spell. A further element involves availability bargains. Strong compounds inundate the trade, rendering them tough to evade. And for certain, it commences prior to the roads, a misplaced position, unaddressed sorrow, or early hardship. The boundary between addict and casualty fades swiftly. The fentanyl concern likewise molds community views. Numerous individuals observing a site strewn with syringes decide the dilemma proves unfixable. But does it seem just to shrink a whole emergency to dependency? Or ought we inquire how our frameworks from medicine to lodging let down individuals well before they wound up there? The response proves intricate, yet one aspect stands evident: overlooking the narcotic emergency signifies overlooking a key cause of why shelters persist appearing. And this too forms a portion of the broader dialogue regarding homeless in America, how drug dependency, unhealed psychological care, and want converge upon the identical relentless walkway. The bigger picture, a state of contrasts and challenges. Texas isn't a uniform entity. It's an expansive tapestry of the quite diverse locales. That's precisely why the state's unhoused narrative proves just as diverse. In Dallas and Collin counties, consistent funding and unified plans have produced a gradual yet evident drop in unhoused rates, off by nearly 5% this year. That's hardly a minor accomplishment given the strains of climbing leases and a surge of fresh arrivals. At the same time, Midland's stats fell a bit as well, although it continues battling to aid kids and seniors who keep falling via the gaps. Still, other regions of the state recount a tougher tale. Austin's 36% rise in folks residing sans shelter proves disturbing. Fort Worth and adjacent Parker County experienced an 11% surge, and Beaumont almost doubled its unhoused residents in merely 2 years. Such stats expose a trend where lodging and aid provisions prove limited, the issue expands. Where ongoing funding exists, the issue may steady or perhaps contract. Such disparity spotlights the function of community governance. Certain municipalities, like San Antonio, have established full offices dedicated to unhoused matters, directing millions of bucks towards street aid havens and evidence-based fixes. Different ones remain arguing over rules that prohibit tenting or penalize dozing in open areas. Such varied tactics yield varied results. For leaders and residents, this raises a vital query. Ought we view unhoused status as a bother to eliminate or as a communal concern to resolve? The reply impacts not merely those on the roads, but likewise the locales encircling them. Enterprises, academies, and districts all sense the spreading impacts. It's simple to blame persons, yet data indicate that the issue frequently swells whenever frameworks collapse. And as we pull away, Texas turns into a glass, showing bigger countrywide battles, since what's occurring here belongs to the narrative of homeless in America. The deeper causes, more than just poverty. The roots of homelessness in Texas prove vastly more intricate than mere financial shortage. Although economic strain frequently appears as the clearest element, it forms merely a single component of a far broader enigma. Fundamentally, homelessness gets molded by availability, fairness, and at times pure luck. Examine the real estate sector in Texas, notably in rapidly expanding city hubs such as Austin, Houston, and Dallas lease rates, and property costs have skyrocketed over late years. Salaries for numerous laborers, especially those in lower and moderate earning tiers, have failed to match. Even households with steady employment discover they're shut out from secure lodging. The conclusion of COVID aid efforts, which formerly supplied urgent rent aid and economic boosts, has additionally weakened a previously weak welfare mesh positioning, numerous just one wage from forfeiting their dwelling. However, cash by itself fails to account for all. Psychological wellness assumes a deep and frequently disregarded function. Countless Texans residing sans cover likewise wage inner conflicts, melancholy trauma from past events, mood swings, disorder, and split mind are merely several of the ailments that may upend existence. Such disorders ignored or scarcely managed owing to expense or shame render it vastly tough to maintain. Employment manage expenses or simply maneuver intricate welfare networks. A further vital element involves family abuse. Throughout Texas, refugees log thousands of females and youngsters escaping harmful circumstances, typically sans funds, sans aid circle, and sans secure haven. Drug consumption introduces yet another level of hardship. Though news stories spotlight fentanyl and lab-made substances, booze, and doctor-prescribed drug abuse prove widespread too. For numerous narcotics or spirits aren't regarding adventure hunts. They serve as survival tools for injury, starvation, and anxiety. Yet what begins as comfort typically evolves into reliance, erecting still taller obstacles to steadiness. Certain demographics face distinct hurdles too. Emerging grown-ups leaving guardianship systems frequently lack much backing upon hitting 18, and ex-service members coming back from duty at times battle to secure positions or obtain proper treatment. Such groups prove particularly at risk. Combined such elements illustrate why homelessness seldom stems from one bad choice. It emerges from frameworks, lodging, medicine, jobs, and law that frequently neglect to link. That's precisely why plans thriving in one town might flop elsewhere. That likewise clarifies why the wider discussion on homeless in America can't detach from arguments over medicine, psychological aid offerings, and pay scales. Thus, maybe the true inquiry isn't who bears fault, but who shall guide the shift. Steps toward hope. What is being done and what could be next? Despite intimidating figures, glimmers of advancement and creativity appear across Texas. Although homelessness continues as a grave obstacle, municipalities and groups are diligently trying out remedies. Dallas distinguishes itself through embracing a continuum of care approach, a framework viewing homelessness as an ongoing sequence instead of one isolated incident. It unites crisis refugees interim initiatives, enduring assisted residences, employment preparation, and psychological wellness services within a single unified scheme. Through partnering tightly with national allies, Dallas has obtained billions in capital, and such assets have aided scores of persons moving from sidewalks to secure dwellings. The outcome might lack completeness as a fix, yet it demonstrates that whenever mechanisms collaborate, transformation can occur. San Antonio has pursued a further daring move, acknowledging that disjointed attempts fell short. The municipality formed a specialized office centered exclusively on homelessness, equipped with over $26 million in finances and a crew of experts. Its goal involves organizing street engagement, collecting and examining info, and developing enduring shelter tactics. Such degree of commitment indicates a move from quick patches to foundational answers. In the interim, Houston has targeted fragile demographics, featuring a charity launching a $41 million center to assist emerging grown-ups departing foster systems among the highest risk segments. Still, even top-notch schemes encounter major hurdles. Funding stays far from assured. Community officials argue hard dilemmas. Should tent prohibitions get applied to maintain pavements free? Or do those actions merely relocate folks from spot to spot, absent tackling the central troubles? Beyond administration, the function of neighborhood collectives proves impossible to overemphasize. Faith centers, block clubs, and helpers supply food, short-term cots, garments, and crucially, self-respect. They cover voids wherever official setups prove inadequate. Still, the magnitude of the emergency lingers as an obstacle. Aiding several dozen individuals at a parish eatery differs from confronting thousands throughout a metropolis. Might Texas emerge as an example for the remainder of the nation? It proves feasible. The region possesses funds, ingenuity, and robust community direction in certain zones. Yet to span gaps and convert trial efforts into province-wide reform, Texas shall demand beyond mere cash. It shall necessitate a societal evolution, an awareness that homelessness represents not a hassle to clear off, but an addressable personal dilemma. A personal perspective, a voice in the conversation. Following studies, discussions, and strolling the avenues, a single fact stands evident. Homelessness proves no vague concept. It feels intimate. As I lingered beside a site in Houston, the atmosphere thick from warmth and the buzz of vehicles, I viewed not outsiders, but locals who exhausted their paths. Certain chatted with optimism. Different ones merely felt weary. It's straightforward to skim beyond reports or dodge glances at a stop signal, yet this matter touches all. Climbing expenses, psychological wellness emergencies, and narcotics, such as fentanyl, fail to remain tidily limited to a lone category. Such elements seep into medical setups, influence area finances, and likewise mold voting cycles. Across numerous aspects, the discussion over homelessness forms a discussion over the sort of community we aim to form. Thus, what's my view? I hold that answers exist, yet they ought to commence via compassion and candor. We can't enforce security to escape this. We can't overlook it and hope it vanishes. We require shelter indeed, yet likewise safeguards, remedies, and positions. We must cherish existences prior to their collapse. What might you attempt should you possess the authority to alter a single element come morning? Might you fund lodging, psychological wellness learning? Or might you stride by and wish another handles it? Such inquiry, I reckon, marks the spot where every genuine answer commences. Conclusion, a call to action and reflection. Texas stands as a realm of strength and potential, though multitudes continue wresting sans cover. Households, ex-service members, and youths linger for aid that typically arrives belatedly. We've witnessed statutes shift, refugees launch, and sites shut down, yet the dilemma endures. This proves no mere Texas tale. It belongs to the broader ordeal of the homeless in America, an echo of our principles. Shall we concede that certain folks forever get abandoned? Or shall we hold that all merit security and respect? While you conclude this clip, question yourself. When a person gets cast into shadows, what shall you attempt?